How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Samach Beis. That's 62 of Masechta Nedarim, friends. What can I tell you about Daf 62? It's pretty geschmack. Alright. Well, let's get started. So we're going to start in Daf Samach Aleph Amud Beis all the way at the bottom. Alright, so it says so if he makes a vow until the end, until the summer passes, so then it's until the people put away their knives that they use for like harvesting. Excuse me, I gotta flip this over. I'm just gonna go off camera ever so slightly and come back ever so elegantly. Tana. Okay, so till most people put away their cutting thingies. Oh, am I supposed to? Wait, am I all over the place? I don't understand what's going on over here. I don't want to be distracted. Excuse me, I don't want to be distracted. 1 second, I want to give my undivided attention to Babylon Talmud. 1 second. Alright, Babylon Talmud, you have my undivided attention until I get distracted. Somebody left a humongous package outside my front door. I don't know what it is or who left it there and when they're planning to move it or if it's going to explode. I don't know any of those things. I hope that it doesn't explode. But I don't know what it is. Tana hukpilu rova miktzos. So when they put away their cutting harvesting tools, mutarus Mishom Gezel, so then there's no theft anymore. At that point, it's like Hefker, whatever. If it gets to the point in the harvest season that everyone's already putting away their tools and the stuff didn't get harvested, so it's Hefker, you won't be chayiv for Gezela, Ufturis, Min HaMaisris, and you don't have to separate Shumas and Maisris at that point. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, Iklu Le'ahu Asra, they visited a certain place, and it was when already most people had put away their harvesting tools. Rabbi Ava ka'achil, Rabbi Yossi b'Yehuda lo achil. Rabbi was fasting, Rabbi was chapanaran, eating epis, and oh wait, are they taking up that? No, maybe they're taking up something else. Alright, I wonder if they're going to take up those books. Yeah, so remember when I said that you had my undivided attention? Yeah. Well, so Rabbi was eating, and Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda was not. Also, Marhoin, now the owner of the field, came and saw that they were eating. He says, no, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, why are you not, or why are the rabbis not eating? I assume the reference is to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi was already eating. Because after all, people have already put away their harvesting tools. But nonetheless, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda was not interested in eating. Kasav mishum sanyus milsa hu dekamar din gava. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda thought that this fellow was being sarcastic. He didn't really want them to be eating his stuff. Rather, he was just being sarcastic. Reb Chanina ikla lau asa. Reb Chanina visited a certain place. Bismat shuklu of miktzos, and again, it was at the time that most of the harvesting tools had already been put away. And Reb Chanina was eating. Yoiv the Shammai, and he offered his attendant, why don't you eat oichit? Lo ochil, and the attendant did not eat. Amalei echol kach amar lo, Rabbi Shema Rabbi Yossi, and then Reb Chanina says to his attendant, "No, eat, for crying out loud." After all, Rabbi Yishma Rabbi Yossi said, Mishum Aviv, in the name of his father, Rabbi Yossi, Hukplu Rova Miktzos, that once most of the people have put away their harvesting tools, Mutaris, Mishum Gezel of Turis Min HaMaiser, there's no theft anymore. It's potter from Chumas HaMaisris, Nu Chaparan. Reb Tarfin, Ashkeche Ahu Gavra, Bisman Shukplu Rova Miktzos, Dika Achil. Reb Tarfin got busted. Reb Tarfin was on somebody else's field, eating stuff, but it was already at the time that there was the end of the harvest, so he was allowed to be eating. Nonetheless, the fellow Achte Besaka, he put him into a bag. He put Reb Tarfin into a bag, Vishakle, and he took him Ve'amte leMishadje Benaire, and he was going to throw him into the river like a mob hit. He was going to push it, put him into a bag, and they put him into a sack, and was going to throw him in the river. Oh my gosh. Would you want to be put in a sack and thrown in the river? I didn't think so. Well, neither did Reb Tarfon. Omar oilo le Tarfon. And Reb Tarfon says, things are not looking good for Tarfon. Shezeh Horgo, this fellow is going to kill him. Meaning, Reb Tarfon says about himself that he's about to die. Shoma ugar v'shavke v'arak. When the fellow heard that it was Reb Tarfon, so he let him go, and the fellow ran away. Omer babo mishum Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, says Reb Babo in the name of Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, kol yomav shel oso tzaddik. All of the days of Reb Tarfon ha'imitzdar al davar zeh, he felt horrible about what happened in this story, in this incident. Omar oili shenishtamashti b'chisra shel teireh. He says, woe is to me that I utilized the crown of the Torah for my own purposes, for my own benefit. That because, this guy only let me go because he heard that I was Reb Tarfon at Talmud Chacham. And after all, Rabbi Bachana says the name of Rabbi Yochanan, somebody who uses the crown of the Torah for his own benefit, Neker min ha'elam, he's going to be uprooted from the world. And Reb Tarfon felt terrible because he felt like he sort of I don't know what the word is, but like basically used his status as a Talmud Chacham for his own benefit to save his life. Kal v'chomer, and we learn this out that anybody who benefits, who uses the crown of the Torah for his own benefit, nekom in olam, we learn it out from a kal v'chomer ma belshazzar shenishamis b'chlei kodesh shenasu chol. That as we learned in Masechta Megillah, Belshazzar, he used the holy ornaments from the holy temple, and even though these items were already become profane, right? They already were no longer holy. Shinemar, as the pasuk says, that these breachers went in and they were mechalalit. They made it unholy. That once these nudniks went into the Beis Hamikdash, so they made all of the items, the vessels unholy. Neker min ha'olam, and Belshazzar, even though he used these items that were no longer holy, he got uprooted from the world. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, Babilelia katu Belshazzar, that night Belshazzar was killed. Hamishtamis b'chisra shel teireh, somebody who utilizes the crown of the Torah, shehu kayim lo'elam voed, that the Torah is the holiness of the Torah is forever. Alachas kamo v'chamo, certainly then he should be uprooted from the world. So Reb Tarfon felt very terrible that he felt like he used the crown of the Torah for his own benefit. Reb Tarfon came in the Chiachel but I don't understand. If Reb Tarfon was eating when it was already the end of the harvest season, so then what was the guy getting all excited about? What was the problem? He wasn't doing anything wrong. He's allowed to. It's hefker at that point. Because unfortunately this fellow who owned the field, he was dealing with a problem where people were stealing his grapes all of the friggin' time. And when he comes to his field and he sees Reb Tarfon chapenaran, he said, I've found who I'm looking for. I've found the perpetrator. I've found the thief. And he assumed that Reb Tarfon was the thief who's been stealing his grapes all along. Well, if that's the case, so then the guy went and he was going to kill Reb Tarfon, and Reb Tarfon says, wow, oy le Tarfon, right, oy le Tarfon. So it saved his life. What's the problem with that? Because Reb Tarfon was a very wealthy man. You should have paid him back at least for what he ate. He should have done something, and he didn't. So that's why he felt bad. Even though, of course, he was able to save his life. Tanya, to love the Eibishter, your God, to listen to his voice and to cling to him. Wow. A fellow should not say, a fellow should not say, I'm going to read scripture so that they will call me a wise individual. That I'm going to learn so that they call me Rebbe. Eshnish zakin, I'll learn so that I should be an elder. Ve'eshiv be yeshiva, and I'll be able to sit in yeshiva and learn, I guess. El lemod me'ahava v'sofa kavod lavo. Look, learn out of love, and at the end, the honor will come. You hear that, friends? We're all over here every day. It's almost 3 years now. We've been learning together every day. What the Gemara is telling us, we shouldn't show up every day to Babylon Talmud and say, I'm going to learn so that we're going to be a great individual, going to get so much honor because I know so much and I'm so smart. Don't do that. Lemod me'ahava. Do it out of love. Friends, at Babylon Talmud, we're all about the love. We do things for love. For love. We're all about the love. V'sofa kavod lavo, and then the honor will come. Do it out of love, and then the honor will come. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "Kashim al etzba'osecha kashim al luach libecha." Write them on your fingers and the chalkboards of your heart. Ve'omer derachei da'achenoam, and then it says, and its ways are very pleasant. Ve'omer eitz chaim l'machazikim v'somchem me'usher, that it is a tree of life for those who hold on to it, and its supporters are happy. So we see that if you do kashim al etzba'osecha kashim al luach libecha, if you study the Holy Torah, don't worry, you'll get to a point of derachei da'achenoam and eitz chaim l'machazikim v'somcheo me'ushar. Rabbi Eliezer Reb Tzadok Omer, Aseh dvarim l'shem payalim, do things for their maker, v'daber boim l'shmam, and speak in them in their lishma. Al taisim atar l'izgadol boim, don't make them a crown to be great with. V'al taisim kordim lios oderbo, don't make it a spade to do spadey kind of things with. V'kavachomer, and we learn out Kavachomer like we learned earlier, Ma Belshazzar, when Belshazzar only dealt with items, with vessels that were already unholy, Nekum and Olam, and he was uprooted from the world. A fellow who uses the crown of the Holy Torah for his own benefit, certainly he's a marked man. Amar Rav says, if a fellow is in a place where they don't know him, they don't recognize him, and he's a Talmid Chacham, so he can make himself known that he's a Talmid Chacham if it's in a place where they don't know him. The pasuk says, "V'avdecha yareis Hashem min uruv," and your servant was a God-fearing individual from when he was a youngin. Elakasha de Reb Tarfon. So then, what's pshat with Reb Tarfon? If it's in a place where they don't know you, you're allowed to point out that you're a Torah scholar. So Reb Tarfon, clearly the guy didn't recognize him. So what was the problem with pointing out that he was a Torah scholar? And for the Gemara, Mishum de Asher Gadol Hoya, because Reb Tarfon was a very wealthy man, and he should have done epis. He should have paid him, done epis. Rav asked the Kasha, that your servant was a God-fearing individual from when he was a youngin, so we see that he was able to point out that he's a Talmid Chacham. But the pasuk also says that let somebody else praise you, not your own mouth. And for the Gemara, it depends. If they know him, so then he shouldn't be praising himself. But if they don't know him, so then he can praise himself. Omar Rav says, a fellow who's a Talmid Chacham could say, look, I'm a Talmid Chacham, Sharuli Tigroi Bereisha. If he goes to Bezdin, he could say, look, I'm a Talmid Chacham, my case should be heard first. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, that the sons of David were priests. What does that mean? It means Makoi Noto Berosh, Av Talmid Chacham Noto Berosh. It means that just like a priest gets the first stuff, as we're going to see in a minute, so also Talmid Chacham gets the first stuff. How do we know that a kohen gets the first stuff? The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, "V'kidashto, make him holy, because after all, he offers the bread of God, the bread of your God." V'tan Rabbi Shmuel teaches, "V'kidashto." What does it mean to make him holy? The chodavish b'kedusha, when it comes to holy things, the Torah Rishon that he reads from the Sefer Torah first, U'levarich Rishon. What's that? A zimun, I guess. Yeah, Birchas Hamotzi. Birchas Hamotzi says, that's what Rashi says. What does the Ran say? Oichet. V'lito Mona Yofe B'Rishon, and what does the Ran say? In Balachlo Doverim Yisrael Osi Yisrael Mimenu Shnei Chalakim Shavmuch V'Choin Bar Ezemem Yirtze. if you're eating pizza, you order a pizza pie and you're splitting it with a kohen, the kohen gets to decide which half of the pizza pie he gets. And the same thing applies oichet to a Talmud Chacham. That a Talmud Chacham also gets precedence. So, right, that sounds like very cool stuff. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava says, Rava Shari le'letzub me'arbanan le'meimar. A Talmud Chacham is permitted to say, Lo yahivna acharga, I'm not paying taxes. The Chsiv, as the Apostle says, Minda below v'halach. Lo shalat le'mirma aleun. V'amar B'Yehuda, Minda, what's Minda? Zo monas hamelech, that's some kind of a tax. Below, zo kesef gulgalta, that's like a head tax. V'halach, zo arnona, that's arnona. Yeah, arnona's coming up soon. The new year is such an intense time. Everyone gets excited about the new year, and not me. All I can think about is taxes. Rava says, Rava, it's permitted for a Talmud Chacham to say, Avda denura ana. I work for some fire serving priest, the avodah zarah. Lo yibna chaga, but the people who worked for these avodah zarahs didn't have to pay tax. My time outcome lavuchi arya mine kamer. He's allowed to say this because he's just trying to get some kind of lion away from him. Alright. Fine. Rav Ashi Havale Hau Abba, Rav Ashi had a forest, Zavne Levenura, and he sold it to these fire worshipping people. Ravina says to Rav Ashi, how can you sell your forest of wood to people who serve a forest fire avodah zarah? Isn't that lifnei iver lo siti michshol? Don't put a stumbling block before a blind person. If you know that they're going to use this wood that you're selling them for their fire avodah zarahs, how can you sell it to them? It says, look, most wood is not for the avodah zarah. Most wood is going to be for cooking and fires and stuff like that. Cooking, make like eggs and things. Says the Mishnah, that if he says he's not going to drink wine, let's say, until the kotzir, until the harvest, what harvest is he talking about? Wheat harvest. If a fellow says the harvest, what's he referring to? He's referring to the wheat harvest, not the barley harvest. But after all, it all depends where he is. If he's in a place where the harvest is actually barley harvest generally, so then, okay, so barley harvest. Fine. Now, if he's in the mountains, then it goes based on how they do it in the mountains. If he's in the valleys, it goes based on how they do it in the valleys. If he says until the rain or until there was rain, it means until the second set of rains rain, right? There's like three rains. There's the early rains, there's the second rains, and then there's the third rains, which are the later rains. So we're talking about the second rains. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says it doesn't actually have to rain. It just needs to reach the time that would be considered the time of the second rain, even if it doesn't necessarily have to rain. And if he says until the rain stops, Nisan kulo divrei Meir says it means till after the month of Nisan. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad she'avar Pesach, whereas Rabbi Yehuda says it means until Pesach is over, until Pesach ends. Says the Gemara Tanya, Anoder arakayitz begalo v'yard la'makom. A fellow who says that he's making a neder until the harvest in the Galilee, but then he goes down, he travels south to the valleys. Even though it's the harvest season in the valleys, also still he has to wait until the Galilee. Meaning, if when he was in the Galilee, he made a neder that he's not gonna, let's say, drink wine until the harvest in the Galilee, so then it goes based on the harvest in the Galilee. Even if he then goes and travels to the valleys, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be based on where he made the neder in the Galilee. Friends, that was daf Samach Beis of Masech Nedarim. Very interesting daf. We learned about all sorts of interesting things about different stories with different Talmidei Chachamim and about being mishtamesh bekisur shel Torah. Very interesting stuff. Friends, I hope you enjoyed daf Samach Beis of Masech Nedarim. Peace out.